Hello, and thank you for joining us for the DeLand Area Chamber of Commerce and Orange City Alliance 2021 State of the Region. My name is Rob Doan, and I will be your host. Our program this year includes videos from several of our West Volusia cities and their mayors, as well as a live panel discussion hosted by yours truly with Mayor Apgar of DeLand, Mayor Blair of Orange City, Mayor Chazet of DeBerry, Mayor Hertzberg of Deltona, and Mayor Raisler of Lake Helen. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize our 2021 State of the Region sponsors. This year's event is made possible and brought to you by our presenting sponsors Advent Health, Duke Energy, Family Health Source, and my partners and I at the Cobb Cole Law Firm. We'd also like to thank our premier sponsors, DeVita Labs and Launch Credit Union, as well as our partner sponsors, James Moore & Company, Main Street Community Bank, Page Insurance Agency, Paul Elkine Brands and Paul Attorneys at Law, Quality Quick Print, and the West Volusia Beacon. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this year's program.
We just pray for the healthcare workers.
Thank you once again for hosting the State of the Region, as it affords all of West Volusia cities the opportunity to share all the activity in our region. DeLand believes in cooperation with our neighbors and the importance of acting regionally. COVID is still affecting business and events in DeLand. We are now permitting events, but we do require a COVID mitigation plan. We enjoy a great working relationship with this chamber and value our business retention program. We continuously work to improve customer service and to be business friendly. We offer a number of business grant programs. We're finishing up currently our 2050 visioning plan, examining our codes for ways to encourage things like workforce housing, infill projects, including redevelopment, and examining modernizing our codes to be consistent with current trends. We are still issuing a lot of residential building permits in DeLand, as DeLand remains very hot. For DeLand, new residents seem to select DeLand for what we are, not for what they left. They don't choose DeLand to change our character, but embrace the long embedded community values of having a small college town atmosphere with an outstanding quality of life. Downtown continues to have high occupancy rates. There's some new faces such as Witt's Custard, Heiderhead Brewery, and New York Bagel. Downtown is absolutely the critical component of DeLand's vibrancy. Glasshouse Square continues to move forward, but very slowly. The Bridge, our homeless shelter, has been very successful in its first year of operation and is a great example of West Volusia working together. Country Club Corners continues to add new businesses like Jeremiah's Ice and Woodland Dental. Some new businesses have relocated to or located to Victoria Park Plaza and to West Volusia Regional. Aldi's is expected to open there fairly soon. The Chamber's been hosting an awful lot of ribbon cuttings, most of which are small independent businesses or local franchisees of national companies. Those franchisees are not often viewed by people as local businesses, but they really are local. All of these new businesses are positive signs of the confidence in DeLand's economy and of our emerging recovery from COVID. Small businesses are the lifeblood of this community. We all need to support them. DeLand is seeing more activity along 472. Advent Health is still working on their plans for their property there. It will be used for health services for our region. Our most exciting news at 472 is a developer is looking at buying property on both sides of 472 for a mixed-use light industrial project. Maybe we are finally at a point for that interchange to take off as a job creator, which is good for Deltona, Orange City, and DeLand. Job creation at 472 has been a very, very long-term goal. I usually start with the airport, our manufacturing and industrial economic engine, but I saved it for last, as we are on the cusp of two very exciting announcements. Confidentiality limits what I can say today. We are working with an international manufacturing company with facilities around the world to locate here. It would employ about 100 people. Temporarily, it would rent warehouse space at the airport to start operations, but plans to build a 100,000 square foot facility adjacent to Easton Drive within a year or so. There is something tentatively about this project scheduled on our agenda for May 3rd. Secondly, there is a California-based therapeutic product producer locating at the airport and eventually employing 500 or more people. The likelihood of both of these businesses coming to DeLand is extremely high. Stay tuned. Lastly, we are working with Kingspan to consolidate their leases into one. We believe that this is to facilitate an expansion by Kingspan at the airport. The latest news about Sunrail coming to DeLand is very welcome and exciting. From DeLand's perspective, our economy is getting stronger every day. DeLand is no longer a secret, but remains and will continue to remain a great place to live, work, and play. DeLand is well positioned for its future, and I'm very excited about the future of DeLand. Thank you.
A small-town ambiance and charming history make up the fabric of the Orange City community. Orange City has a reputation for being the commercial hub of Volusia County. Shop till you drop at one of our excellent retail centers, then experience one of our fabulous restaurants. You'll be in great hands in Orange City. Our fire department recently ranked in the top 2% in the nation, and our first-class police department is staffed by highly trained professionals who put your safety above all else. Florida Hospital Fish Memorial is Volusia County's second largest hospital, with 175 patient beds and a reputation for high-quality health care. John Knox Village is a unique full-service life care retirement community, home to some 650 residents, as well as a 5-star rated medical center. Orange City offers students superior educational opportunities, 2 elementary schools, River Springs Middle, and our brand new state-of-the-art University High School. Those seeking higher education have many nearby options. Stetson University, Daytona Beach State College, and the University of Central Florida are all located within a short distance of Orange City. Residents of Orange City have access to beautiful parks and recreational areas. Bike trails, play areas, and sporting facilities can all be found in the area.
Good day, everyone. I'd like to thank the DeLand Area Chamber and the Orange City Alliance for organizing this State of the Region. I think it's very important for us West Volusia cities to come together in a safe manner to share our progress and improvements. We all know that I never turn down an opportunity to talk about the great city of Orange City. And despite COVID-19, it's been a big year for us. Last year, the Mill Lake Park Continuum, which encompasses Mill Lake, Veterans Memorial Park, Coleman Park, Holly Avenue, and Dickinson Park, was selected as a finalist for the Greatest Place in Florida award. Parks are vital to our community, and now more than ever, people are frequenting our playgrounds, splash pad, skate park, walking and biking paths just to get out of the house. Our police department recently expanded their volunteer program to include park rangers. so the city parks are even safer than ever. As more and more residents are receiving their COVID-19 vaccinations, we've been able to start resuming some of our in-person events. We had our first movie in the park in March, and we plan to have our first food truck event later this month, as well as the city's fireworks event in July. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the pandemic, the Orange City Blue Springs Manatee Festival was not held this year, but we are looking forward to having it bigger and better than ever in 2022. Our utilities department has been working on upgrading our infrastructure and water distribution system throughout the city. We've been known for our outstanding water quality as we strive to get back to that standard. We recently completed our first community redevelopment agency project, which consisted of a complete overhaul of Holly Avenue, which is an important historic part of Orange City. This overhaul provided us access to sanitary sewer, reclaimed water, and stormwater. After obtaining funding assistance from the state, we are in the beginning phase of voluntary septic to sewer conversion for our homeowners on Holly Avenue. Those that participate will be able to convert to sewer at little or no cost that will help protect the Blue Spring Basin in the process. The connection sewer to sewer brings us an opportunity for a downtown area with restaurants and more businesses. When it comes to the commercial businesses, our development services staff is giving it their all in taking an integrated approach to allow for smart growth. Our building staff is busier than ever right now with the residential boom happening within the city, something I'm sure many cities are also experiencing. West Volusia is a hot spot for our residential growth, and we are joining in on the trend, welcoming our new residents to the area. With all the new growth, we rely even more on our top-rated fire department and police department. We all know that public safety is so vital, especially during this year of a pandemic. We are in good hands, though, as Orange City is also considered the medical hub of Volusia County. We continue to see high-quality medical uses pop up in the area, and like the Advent Fish Memorial Tower addition, which has been under construction for the last few years. It's scheduled to open and to see patients as soon as this summer. Also, Dr. Gupta's state-of-the-art oncology treatment center is under construction and will be opening in the community soon. We strive to enhance the quality of life in Orange City for residences, businesses, and visitors, and create new opportunities for all. I am proud to live in the same community that I have served as mayor for the second term now, and I am honored to be part of this city, what the city has to offer West Volusia and surrounding communities. Thank you for having me today, and have a great day.
At Duke Energy, we're already building a more intelligent and innovative energy future with smart meters that give timely alerts so you can adjust your energy use, and the control to pick your own due date so you can budget wisely. Discover new ways to save energy and money with smart meters. Just another way we're building a smarter energy future.
Welcome to DeBerry. We have lots of exciting things going on in our town, particularly down here on the southern end, which is the Sunrail station, currently the northernmost station in the system. As mayor of DeBerry, I'm proud to highlight all that we have to offer: a quality small town, close-knit community. We have 9 miles of waterfront with 2 deep water boat launches, world-class sports, parks, golf courses, and 10 nature parks.
We are also the safest city in Volusia and one of the safest in Florida. 30 minutes to everywhere. DeBary is more than you imagined. And if that is not all, our low millage rate makes DeBary 59% less expensive to live in from an ad valorem tax standpoint than other cities in Volusia.
This street transects 20 to 50 acres of land directly across from Sunrail. We have plans to make this DeBary Main Street. It will be a walkable, bikeable community with commercial on the first floor and residence above. It's an exciting time to bring this feature, which will be a community gathering spot in the future.
The transit-oriented development will be a multimodal community incorporating various transit assets, including Sunrail and bike paths. DeBary is in the process of building approximately 1,500 homes in our TOD, most of which are already sold. Housing in DeBary is selling quickly. We are known as Orlando's hottest suburb. Our Main Street project will add the missing piece by creating a walkable downtown with shops, restaurants, and the perfect location for events, festivals, and entertainment. Visitors can walk across the street from Sunrail and experience urban modern living with a plethora of outdoor activities. Our location provides easy access to camping, boating, fishing, kayaking, marathons, biking, and walking trails.
In the not too distant future, you will be able to bike or walk if you have the stamina to St. Petersburg, Titusville, St. Augustine, or Ocala from this very spot across from our Sunrail and at our DeBary Main Street, which will be our community gathering place for festivals and general community celebrations.
Love to bike? Then DeBary is the place to be. Central Florida's 3 major bike trails converge in only one location, DeBary. Get on your bike and you can ride to St. Petersburg, St. Augustine, Ocala, or Titusville.
A mile from Sunrail and the planned DeBary Main Street is this beautiful property, 170 acres, of which 150 acres are conservation land with a 2-mile berm natural walking path along the St. Johns River. There are about 20 acres of uplands, which we hope will be the home for an aquatic research center that will be a freshwater center for education and research. Our partnership on this project is before Florida Forever for funding, and we will be pursuing additional funding as needed. This is our dream. It is called Riverbend South, or we plan on calling it Alexander Park.
Our primary objectives in obtaining this property are to preserve its natural beauty, establish the only state-operated freshwater research and education center, and create a new park where residents can enjoy a myriad of activities, including picnicking, fishing, and canoeing. As you can see from these pictures, the land is spectacular with ancient moss-covered oaks and a natural beach. The research center will help create the next generation of conservationists. Volusia school kids will be able to take field trips to the center and learn how to care for the river and its inhabitants. The berm is a natural trail that will easily become a scenic bike and walking trail. Every spot will have a river view, and the myriad of wildlife will give visitors up-close observation of the over 46 species of birds, many of which are endangered or threatened. The site is also home to various species of turtles, alligators, and even wild boar. We invite you to visit DeBary. Naturally, it's more than you imagined.
tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell.
I want to thank the DeLand Chamber of Commerce and Orange City Alliance for hosting the second virtual State of the Region. I am Daisy Raisler, Mayor for the City of Lake Helen, known as the Gem of Florida. It is an honor today to be on this panel with fellow mayors of West Volusia County to report on the state of our city. I also want to thank Veronica Edwards, Associate Broker with Gaffs Realty, for this beautiful video of our city. I think it's important, as I begin my remarks, to mention that we are currently under the Governor's 56th extension of the state of local emergency related to the COVID-19 virus since March 13, 2020. Looking back at this past year, all I have in my heart is a deep appreciation for the leadership in Volusia County. I congratulate each one for the shared collaboration during these trying times. We have yet to see what the full economic impact of COVID-19 will be. To say that many folks have lost jobs is an understatement when so many others have lost loved ones. Let us keep those we have lost in thoughts and prayers. Since last March, with the arrival of the virus COVID-19, we have certainly gone through a lot, and we have made so many adjustments to keep each other safe. My deepest thanks to all of you for your part in protecting each other. The City of Lake Helen has a strong and dedicated team, and I want to offer equal thanks and appreciation to our department heads in administration, public works, and police department, as well as our city employees. As we continue our path to fiscal stability, I say without reservation that this could not have been done without their help. I am grateful for the hard work they do every day, even in the midst of a pandemic. They have been there every step of the way. To think forward into the future where folks may ask, who was the mayor of Lake Helen during the pandemic? And my name may come up? That is surreal. Yet, it is during these times that faith and a sense of calm courage is important in leadership. I am grateful for the citizens of Lake Helen who looked for safe ways to stay connected. There were folks making free masks. Others were sharing front porch family portraits on social media. The Easter Bunny was seen riding around on the Butler's Express. And the city provided safe participation for the November elections. Pandemic aside, at the core of Lake Helen are strong, caring, and resilient folks who recognize that we are all connected, even when we're apart. Fortunately, it is not something our city had to take on alone. With the strong leadership of Volusia County mayors, the support of Volusia County Council, the emergency management team, and our Florida governor, we embrace the gift of human connection and use the challenge as an opportunity to strengthen our partnerships. Through the CARES program, we were able to provide assistance to both businesses and residents in need. If you had asked me 4 years ago where we would be in early 2021, certainly no one could have predicted a pandemic or the economic challenges we would face as a result. Amidst the pandemic, our city employees were minding to the day-to-day operations, and many projects were being completed. Paving roads, fixing sidewalks, preparing storm drains, and fixing culverts. With all that, many new homes were added to the tax roll. As we look forward to the future, the City of Lake Helen is poised for a golden era as it begins to put enhanced focus on the Pearls of Lake Helen, our city parks, bringing a pavilion to Macy Park, upgrading the basketball court and play equipment at Melissa Park, enhancing the fitness trail at the Equestrian Center with citizens and business partnerships, and adding a splash pad at Blake Park. These add to the quality of life that we citizens of Lake Helen have become accustomed to. The West Gateway of town is the designated economic development zone right off the Interstate Highway and promises to attract businesses to Lake Helen, boosting our economy. Looking in the rearview mirror, I know we're all ready to move forward and focus on what is next for this wonderful community. The City of Lake Helen has been tested, and we are coming out stronger because of it. I am proud of our city, our county, our residents, and the work we have done in the last 4 years. In conclusion, I am proud to live in a city that is welcoming and holds a nostalgic pulse of small town Florida. I couldn't be prouder to be the mayor of our resilient city. I welcome you to come for a visit. You may call it home too. Thank you. I'm Daisy Raisler, Mayor for the City of Lake Helen, and I'd like to share some highlights about our city. Lake Helen was founded in 1888 by Henry A. DeLand, who was attracted to the beauty of the land's clear lakes surrounded by canopy of trees, once described as lying like a string of pearls encased in living green. So inspired was DeLand with the natural splendor of the area that he named the town after his daughter Helen. The city of Lake Helen is rich in history and was incorporated in 1891. John P. Mace, an architect, became its first mayor. To this day, the lakeside view of Lake Helen is captivating, yet history buffs are lured to see the spectacular old houses and churches of many styles. The Prairie Style School, which closed back in April of 1996, is currently our City Hall, and it was replaced by Volusia Pines Public Elementary School. Lake Helen Police Department serves our community 24/7, and the water service is also provided by the City of Lake Helen. Another fine historic structure is Hopkins Hall at Euclid in Connecticut, built in 1897. It is the oldest building in Lake Helen. Lake Helen has several parks. Two have body of waters. One is Lake Helen Lake, and the other is Lake Macy, where folks can come and picnic, kayak, birdwatch, or simply bask in the unusual feeling that time probably has stood still, even if it's for just a moment. Blake Park is the hub spot on Saturday mornings for market in the park, playing tennis, basketball, or simply having the little ones play. Many annual community events are held in Blake Park, including the Easter egg hunt and car show. The Boys and Girls Club offering after-school program is housed at the Youth Center at Blake Park, and located on the southwest of town is Melissa Park. Along with basketball court, playground equipment, and picnic amenities, it has a facility with a kitchen and meeting hall. Lake Helen's Equestrian Center is approximately 5 acres. It has an outdoor rodeo arena, announcer's booth, spacious horse stalls, practice arena, public bathroom facilities, picnic area, and exercise trail and playground. Mitchell Brothers Sports Complex encompasses baseball and practice field, viewing stands, announcer's booth, concession stand, restroom facilities, and playground area. On the east end of the complex is a wooded trail extending from Ohio Avenue to Kicklighter, an invitation for walkers and hikers alike. With many new homes blending into the landscape and the economic district yet to be developed on the west end, Lake Helen has been able to maintain the quaint, old Florida charm that gives its name the Gem of Florida. I invite you, come for a visit. You may end up calling it home, like many of us did.
And for the portion of the event that we've all been waiting for, this is the opportunity for us to have a roundtable discussion with our West Volusia mayors. Thank you all for joining us live here on Zoom. And we're going to start off going in order by my Zoom screen, and we'll go through the list of mayors, and then we'll come back through each time. And to start off, here we are again by Zoom for the second year in a row. Doing the State of Region address, but unlike last year, we can all now see the light at the end of the tunnel, I hope. Municipal buildings and meetings, local businesses, community events, they're all slowly coming back to life. But as of today, what's the biggest related COVID issue your city is still dealing with on a regular basis? Mayor Apgar, we'll start with you.
Thank you. My answer has two parts, both internally and externally. Internally, dealing with quarantine employees and still having the staffing available to perform the essential services and functions has been challenging. At the same time, too, for any employees that may have left, the employee replacements were also very difficult during the height of COVID. Externally, it's been dealing with the expectations and opinions of citizens regarding COVID protocols, restrictions, and impacts. The maskers versus the anti-maskers, things like mask enforcement, event issues, and what cities control and don't control through the pandemic.
Understood. Mayor Raisler, tell me about Lake Helen and how COVID is still affecting your operations today.
Well, thank you. Very similar to what Mayor Bob Apgar is experiencing in his city, we are too. As far as the expectations with dealing with the meetings, that face-to-face contact, that how we used to be pre-COVID and people could just walk in. Now we see this, how to adjust, like using Zoom, more of the long distance, and it seems to slow down a little bit. But I think we're coming to the other side. Like you said, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but something that's impacted us this long, it takes also a while for the readjustment to take place, even though we're still not all the way out. And so that uncertainty, that fear is still in many people's mind. And also, in local government, you want people to feel safe. So it's still something we're dealing with.
Mayor Chazet, how's DeBerry continuing to deal with the evolving challenges of COVID?
Well, our city hall has been open for regular business since last July, so that has sort of hit its own rhythm. We, of course, have concerns about the safety of our employees and those who visit, and so we have mask suggestions in City Hall and requirements in the council chambers. It does still affect the number of people we can have in chambers with us during meetings. But if we have a topic that generates a lot of interest, we are fortunate to have an adjacent town hall where we can set up additional space for the public and then have staff bring them over at the time for their comments. So we have the same concerns about keeping our staff safe, but I think we have hit our rhythm there. One thing that we did recently was we looked forward to what we would do with events this year. And we decided as a council a month or so ago that we would go ahead with planning for our regular 4th of July, that we would, going into the Christmas holidays, we would maintain our traditional events and add in a couple of elements that proved very popular last year when we had to do things differently on the fly. Some of the things we did differently were very well received, like Santa making trips through town, and the laser light component of our drive-through reverse parade, which actually was very, very popular. We think up to 10,000 people came through that, which is far more than in our traditional parade that we will go back to this year. So we've been trying to get back to a sense of normal here.
Thank you. Mayor Hertzberg, Deltona, how's Deltona adjusting to the daily changes that we all face with COVID?
Well, I think internally with City Hall, it's always been open. We really, we have a really good system of having employees behind plexiglass and so forth, the ones that are basically dealing with the public, and the rest, like everyone else, we've been, having special meetings and so forth if you have to meet with a constituent or, developers that come in. But that's not really the big issue. The bigger issue is to try to keep our employees, our staff safe without having a diminished level of service. In other words, the COVID protocol and everything, especially for first responders, you don't ever want to be on the downside of having enough of your first responders out on COVID protocol that you have a shortage. So I think that's the biggest challenge, not only for Deltona, but I think for everyone. And, as you see the numbers and the numbers fluctuate up and down for the virus, you kind of always have to keep your finger on that, because you just never know. Even though we're vaccinating more, you still have, that rhythm of up and down in terms of, people that may have it have to test and so forth. So other than that, I mean, we're doing good, the same as everyone else. Tonight we have a big meeting, so we have to make sure we can get 80 chairs in the chambers, socially distant, and have some in the overflow area out in the lobby. So same as everyone else, and I think we're doing pretty good with it.
Thank you. Mayor Blair, Orange City, how are you handling the continuing challenges, and do you feel like you're starting to get back to some sense of normal?
Yeah, somewhat. We're trying to maintain a high quality of service, while meeting the new demands for safety protocols. Things are still very challenging. We have workers who are out on sick or leave, and family members that may be quarantined due to possible exposure. We're still distancing and limiting crowds. These new procedures are more labor intensive, and they slow our operations down quite a bit. For example, it takes more staff time to clean the restrooms in our recreational facilities. We've recently begun to do our movies in the park, again, with circles of separation for our attendees. And we're also having a problem with getting backlogged items, from suppliers that we need to keep the city moving. But we've installed UV air cleaners in all of our city buildings, as well as plexiglass partitions here in the council chambers. So like everyone else, it's day by day. We have our fingers crossed that things are going to get better, and hopefully they will.
Well, with
I
new,
know the
sure.
the new oh, I'm missing a word here. The variants are kind of scary. What may be coming down the road here.
Understood. With new challenges typically come new expenses, and Mayor Blair, we'll start with you this time and go back through. Have any of the recent measures passed by Washington or Tallahassee, are they expected to provide any direct funding to your city? And if so, what are your needs and how do you plan to use those funds?
Well, yes, they have. We've received money under the CARES Act, the Corona Aid Relief Economic Security Act, and we're hopeful to get additional funding under the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, as well as upcoming infrastructure bills that may be considered at the federal level. CARES Act money went for things like masks, hand sanitizing stations, computer upgrades, and firewalls so our employees could work at home. And new funding should allow us to tackle larger projects that we've yet to determine what those are.
Mayor Hertzberg, what opportunities do you see on the horizon from federal and state relief funds?
Well, we also received the CARES Act money, and we use that to supplement pay for first responders. And also now we're looking at about $15.2 million coming down the first May 5th of 2021, and then May 15th, and then again May 15th of 2022 to have that be a split is what they're, I guess, looking at. So hopefully what we're going to use that for, some infrastructure challenges that we have here in the city, like all of us, roads and aging water infrastructure. And it really just depends on the amount that comes down and really what we're looking at, what our needs are going to be at that time. But, like everyone else, the infrastructure needs are very, very great in the city.
Mayor Chazet, same question. What's on the horizon with federal funds for your city?
Well, we were also privileged to have CARES Act funds of, I think, $745,000 that was expended to deal with the pandemic and safeguards, technology, and the same kinds of things that you've heard expressed for the other cities. We also have over $8.9 million coming to us under the new stream of funding that Heidi mentioned in May of this year, and then for the first half, and then May of next year for the second half. And water issues have been huge in DeBary for many years, and we have a long list of projects and concerns to address. And probably water will take the largest share of those funds that we receive. We have yet to get the final guidance so that we know that what we are doing in that area would qualify for the funds. And broadband is another area that we might look at, which was one of the other areas that's provided under that funding.
Thank you. Mayor Raisler, any funds on the horizon from the federal government, and what's Lake Helen looking to do with those? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Similar to our sister cities, we received money from the CARES Act, and fortunately for us, we didn't have to expend it into the emergency personnel because that was already budgeted. So we did use that to enhance communication and IT, and for the additional PPE, oh gosh, it was just cleaning everything, parks and city hall and things like that. And also the plexiglass. So we invested in keeping our staff safe. That's what most of the money went into, and to enhancing the communication as well. And hopefully, with the funds that we're looking forward to get in May, that's the same concern that we have as other cities, the infrastructure regarding our water projects and things like that. We'd like to see if we can focus that in. We're looking to get involved, our community involved also, to see what they would suggest. But mostly, water infrastructure is pretty big for us too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Apgar, what's in the works for federal funds?
Well, under the CARES Act, we got $1.2 million, and we spent about half of it, I think, on public safety salaries and the like. And then, as others have alluded to, sanitizers, technology upgrades, those sorts of things, sanitizing equipment. So as far as the CARES Act, pretty much what everybody else did. As far as the Rescue Plan Act, like everybody else, we're also waiting for the definitive guidance on what will be allowed and not allowed. We got a lot of ideas, but we are being cautious about spending it before we get it, in the sense that if you'll recall, last year in the CARES Act, the ball kind of moved several times in terms of, originally it couldn't be used for salaries, and then it could be used for salaries. And so I think we all have a little bit of concern to exactly wait as long as we possibly can to be sure that what we're expending is an authorized expenditure, because in our case, it's $14.65 million. And if there were a clawback, that could do some significant damage. And politically, I'm a little bit concerned, because we'll have a midterm election that may come in and amend how that money can be spent. So a lot of uncertainty, good dollar amounts, and we certainly, like others, have a lot of uses for it, but we're going to be cautious to begin with.
So, mayors, are you saying that federal regulations aren't always crystal clear? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's a fair statement.
Well, a topic that always continues to be popular, and it's one of those that I think falls into the category of it's a good problem to have. People continue to want to move to Florida because it's a great place to live. People continue to want to move to West Volusia because it's a great place to live, and they're moving here at a high rate. And that means there's demand for new houses. With that comes more traffic, more growth in general. And I find that a lot of citizens and groups typically believe that they're not opposed to growth as long as it is smart growth. But that definition is very different for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on the current residential and commercial growth needs and demands that are facing your city today? And Mayor Apgar, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I'll give you fair warning. This is probably my long answer. First of all, we live in a high growth state and in a high growth area of that state. So you're right. Smart growth means different things to different people. Abstractly, most people do buy into many of the principles related to smart growth, but NIMBYism comes into play in the process as it affects people's views on a particular development. As you alluded to take it a step further, there are a lot of newcomers who, now that they're here, they want us to slam the door shut because they've gotten what they wanted. I was part of Volusia's Smart Growth Initiative that developed Map A bunch of years ago, and it was adopted by all cities but one. And the notion was, for Map A, was to keep any further growth out of the center of the county, recognizing and in fact encouraging more growth and density in the more developed areas. Certainly, speaking for DeLand, growth has put a lot of strain on our staff to keep up. Planning for the impacts and satisfying those impacts has and will continue to be a major problem and challenging for us. Probably the biggest challenge of all, and everybody else, relates to transportation needs. What I'm about to say, if we were live, I might get a few boos on, but what I'm about to say I believe to be true. The law only requires developers to pay for the new impacts on the roads created by their development. and not the backlog that's been created by years of prior growth. People don't fully realize or accept that they've helped create that backlog, and effectively they want someone else to pay for that backlog. And the backlog is really all of our fault. You know, citizens want lower taxes, and as elected officials, we've responded, you know, accordingly. And so that's caused many costly road projects and maintenance to get deferred while costs rise and the backlog continues. And in DeLand's case, and I'm sure it's true of the other cities, many of our roads are not, you know, our responsibility. They're either the county or state highways. Some examples of that would be Woodland Boulevard, Clara Avenue, Beersford Avenue, State Road 40. They're all not our responsibility to upgrade. So that also creates problems. But again, you know, I think all of us adhere to the notion of trying to grow in the best way we possibly can, to try and infill where it's appropriate. But again, it's like a lot of things. The neighbors react to the application of what we believe to be smart growth differently than somebody on the other side of town. Once again, talking about your own neighborhood type thing. But DeLand's committed to trying to, you know, put projects together that make sense and are good for our community and are good for the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Raisler, Lake Helen is very uniquely situated and has made some very community-based decisions about growth in the short and long term over time. What are the current issues you all are facing with respect to growth within the Lake Helen city limits?
Well, I could tell you one thing, the city of Lake Helen has not gone unnoticed and unscathed either. The demands are very similar to any big city that's experiencing the incredible flow that we're getting to Florida. And I have to brag, Volusia County, West Volusia is the place to come. You've got, every city is so unique on the west side. We may not have the beaches, but we have a lot of things that people want that's associated with the pleasures of what a beautiful environment in Florida could give you with you know, hiking trails from Deltona, and, you know, we've got lakes and springs of, you know, Orange City and DeBary, and you've got the airport at DeLand that could just take you for hip hop from one place to the other. So Lake Helen, we're that little gem, and people are feeling when they travel to our neighboring cities and they somehow end up through our streets, we are getting these people coming in. And so the demands are going to be the same as any other city, which is our infrastructure, our road and our water. And it's just, we are feeling that small pressure. And it all comes back to that comprehensive plan and how you're going to, quote unquote, define that smart growth for your city. So I just want to say, God bless all of our cities in Volusia County. They're beautiful. Y'all doing a great job.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Chazé, like all the other cities, DeBary going through a lot of growth. You've got the Sunrail station right there. What are some of the current challenges and demands you're facing and trying to meet?
The south part of our city around the Sunrail that you referenced is the area for growth in our city. And we've been planning for this for years. We have a transportation-oriented development overlay for that area. And we're also being very careful in planning the adjacent lands along Fort Florida Road, which are also being developed, and the plans are coming together for that. The city owns some land directly across from Sunrail, and there are other landowners there that want to monetize their land as well. So we have a joint marketing agreement with some of those landowners, and we've developed a plan for what we would like to see across from Sunrail. We call it DeBary Main Street. And that plan involves this joint marketing agreement that the city is the lead on. And we're talking to developers about exactly what we want to see there, which is community gathering space and retail and commercial on the first floor and residential above in that area, which would be around 20 to 50 acres, depending how large a development would be envisioned by the proper partner. In addition to that, we have implemented some fees that are specific to help us with the infrastructure. We want the infrastructure to come in at the same time as the development. So we have a mobility fee, which is predictable for those who are planning to build, and it assists the city and covers things like trails as well as roads. And it is ended the back and forth between a developer and the city over proportionate share agreements, for example. So we've worked very hard at the structure, and we've worked very hard at our vision for what we want there. This will be the last major build out for DeBerry, and it will take place over the next 5 to 10 years. In addition, while we're doing that, we have a very exciting project to preserve land for conservation, public use, and research. That project is in front of Florida Forever. It's called Riverbend South. On that application, we would call it Alexander Park, but we want to have 150 acres of unspoiled riverfront access for our residents, and partnered with a citizen support group that would build a research center there. So we're also building public green space. And I think that the two together, with a lot of work on how it is we develop, what it is we want, and looking for the highest quality partners, is going to get us where we need to be.
Very exciting. Thank you. Mayor Hertzberg, tell us about the growth challenges and demands you're currently facing in Deltona.
Well, right now, as you know, Deltona is basically a suburb and 36,000 single family homes. We have a shortage of apartments. We really don't have any 55 and over communities. And we have some planned residential developments that are looking at coming in some of the open land areas that we have. And, you know, apartment living is a challenge because we don't have anything. And where we're positioned right now with Amazon and with other distribution type businesses looking to go in at Portland Industrial Park, on Howland around the Interstate 4 and Graves Avenue interchange, you're going to need some apartment type living come in there. So that's what we're working on in that area, as well as 55 and older communities. And you know, like all the mayors have talked about, growth and smart growth means different things to different people. And it's nice to say that you want to have smart growth when you're compacting the lot sizes and you're trying to have more green space by putting more smaller lots together and making that more compact, and then allowing a development to have trails and bigger areas that you can conserve land. But for those people that are opposed to any type of growth or don't want to see any of the land be developed, it doesn't matter if it's that type of growth or not. We're also looking at writing our land development code to more match what's coming into the city. And, you know, Deltona has changed like all of West Volusia over the last, 5, 10, 20 years. And Florida as a whole, you're not going to stop the growth. You're not going to stop the amount of people that are coming in here. And that's all of Volusia County and our whole region. It's the best we can do is manage what we have and look out for the infrastructure, look out for our wildlife, and make sure that we have enough green space. And I just think it's always going to be a challenge, especially with Farmington coming in the center part of the county, and going down to that Osteen. We have a joint planning agreement with Osteen down there, and we've requested that we go ahead and revisit that to look at what's happening in that whole 415 area. Which, when you truly look at growth, when you look at 415 on 46, that's more and more built out, and it's moving north on 415. You can just see the housing developments and everything else come. So as much as we may not want it, may want to manage it more, and with the laws that Florida has regarding development, it's going to happen at some point.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Blair, tell us about the growth demands and challenges Orange City's currently facing.
Well, like everyone else, we obviously have, challenges in front of us. We have some major projects starting out in the activity center area, which is out on East Graves and East 472 by the Interstate 4. One's going to be the Crossings, which is going to be a large housing as well as retail center, and Liberty Station, which is going to be mostly residential. So all those people that are going to work at Amazon in our sister city there, they will have places to stay and to buy homes and that sort of thing. But this is a very difficult subject. You have those people who move here, and then they expect everything to remain the same because they're drawn by the ambience and the character of our little city here. But it is changing, and then you have they don't want other people to move here after they've come here. So you have the NIMBY folks, not in my backyard, and then those who do embrace the growth. Our comprehensive plan and city ordinances provide for growth and balance to provide services like, police, fire, potable water, recreational facilities, and so on. A good example of that would be our park system that can accommodate a large number of people in the future. But when that's reached, then everybody starts complaining that there's too many people on the trail or using the facilities and that sort of thing. So finding the balance to maintain the current quality of life while allowing for growth and change is a very big challenge for us.
Well, it certainly is an exciting time, and I happen to live in a particular spot in West Volusia where I can be I am within the city limits of DeLand, but I can be in Lake Helen in less than about 2 miles. I can be in Deltona in about 2 miles. I can be in Orange City in 2 miles, and I drive to DeBerry every single day to pick my daughter up from gymnastics. And it is challenging, and I think the cities and the city staff really do a remarkable job managing those challenges. And so compliments to all of you in your commissions and councils and city staff, because it is a challenging problem, but it is a good problem to have. Mayor Blair, we'll start with you on the next question. Is there a particular issue, good or bad, that you're tracking in Tallahassee with their legislative agenda during this year?
Well, the basic problem with Tallahassee are home rule issues. The state wants to tell the cities and counties what to do. And, for things like residential businesses, impact fees, that assures that new growth pays for itself. They want to regulate that. Smoking in public places. Years ago, I brought that up to my council and was, quickly shot down by our city attorney that we couldn't do that. So, the state legislature wants to tell us what to do, but those of us who live here within the cities and the county know intimately what our people want and what their needs are. So those of us at the local level, we know what's going on, not the people in Tallahassee. So we want the state to stay out of our business and let us do our jobs and not have such a tight control over us. Thank you.
Understood. Mayor Hertzberg, what are you tracking in Tallahassee?
So what we're tracking are basically the home-based businesses type bill that's going on there, and the short-term rentals, and also, of course, the usual water quality. But when you look at like home-based business, like Mayor Blair said, our unique cities have our own challenges. And for Deltona, as we said before, is, 36,000 homes. You have a lot of residential areas that have home-based businesses. And to start deregulating that is going to cause a lot of issues if you really don't want to allow your municipality to have zoning control over what people are doing in their garage, their backyards, and their front yards. And that's not to say that, home-based business isn't a good thing. There are, of course, some that are very good. But when it comes down to having auto repair shops and chop shops in your garage and in your backyard, and have a constant stream of stock and trade and people coming by, wear and tear on your whole road system. And we've had these issues. We have people call and complain and tell us someone's doing a stereo install business in their garage, and they can hear the testing of the bass like multiple times a day when they're, trying to see how they're doing with their system. And, people purchased a home, their biggest investment, they purchased that for themselves and to be in a quiet type neighborhood, not to have a business next door. That's not what the zoning was allowing at that point. So that's one. Short-term rentals, I mean, we look at that as a beachside issue. But more and more, if you go ahead and put, VRBO, Airbnb in your city, whatever the city is, you'll be amazed to see what pops up. And again, that's a local zoning issue. And those types of businesses, especially in Deltona, which we've got about 26,000 septic tanks, when you start having short-term rentals and do lease outs for multiple people, you're putting a strain on that type of your septic system infrastructure, which leads to water quality, the usual watching to see what's coming out there to see if there's any unfunded mandates. I know they were looking at a lot of trying to prevent any type of runoff, not allowing the injections into the soil and so forth. And all that's going to affect us as municipal utility owners. So I'd say that about wraps it up what we're looking at now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Chazet, what are you tracking in Tallahassee?
Well, just like the other two mayors who have spoken, basically the issues that touch on home rule preemption by the state for things that we locally feel that we have a bead on for our situation and our circumstances. And this goes to things like impact fees this year, and other kinds of regulations that they're proposing that would change some things. For example, I understand one of the bills would make it mandatory that we couldn't have an anonymous code complaint. You have to have your name attached to it if you made a code complaint. Many things like this, the ones that have already been highlighted, really undercut our ability to make and keep our neighborhoods operating in ways that our residents want to see them operate. And each time there is a calculation that it is better that Tallahassee mandate this or prevent that, it undercuts our ability to be as responsive as we should be. So it is, all of those items are the ones that are on our radar, as well as any additional water requirements without funding to go along with it.
Thank you. Mayor Raisler, what are you tracking in Tallahassee this year?
Well, definitely the everything that's been mentioned are the same things that I've been tracking. But I actually, on a personal note, I've been tracking Bill HB 6083, which has to do with firearms regulations. And only for I've been watching this because I'm thinking, okay, so if my son or my daughter, can go and protect this country at the age of 18, now you want to bump up the firearm purchases to age 21. And I'm thinking, you really have to consider this, because I'm like on a personal note, I'm really incensed about that. And, it's like, other than that, as far as a city and a municipality, we need to, continue to have that ability to regulate what's, our ordinances. And it's getting cumbersome when you're trying to get something through and you've got these mandates and preemptions come through. So it's very frustrating. So that's where I'm going to leave it at.
I understand. Mayor Apgar, tell us what you're tracking in Tallahassee.
Well, first of all, I agree with everything that my mayoral colleagues have talked about. One bill that hasn't been mentioned deals with the design of homes and any ability to regulate that. And I think one thing I want to add to, what Mayor Chazet said about preemption and the like, all of us that lobby, members of the legislature and the Florida League of Cities and their lobbyists, are constantly kind of playing a defensive battle. And there's some legislation that say home-based businesses that we strongly disagree with, but the lobbyists have at least gotten the Senate bill to have enough powers left in it, that we can tolerate it, but we shouldn't have to tolerate those kinds of things. The House bill is still, at least as of last week, unacceptable. So, when the session's over, you may find that all the cities say, well, we're okay with home-based business, but it's because of the process that we've gone through. We ought to be left alone in terms of the regulation of that, but as a practical matter, to save a sinking ship, you have to make compromise, so to speak, and that's what we go through every day with the legislative delegation during this tumultuous period of time when they're attacking our local choices at home rule. Off soapbox.
I'd like to point out to everyone watching today that you mentioned the Florida League of Cities. They have an excellent website with a legislative tracking system there that breaks it down by categories of different types of laws. And for anyone at home that feels like they feel disconnected or they don't know, it really is an excellent resource. It's open to the public. You can visit the Florida League of Cities website. I use it frequently to track what's going on in Tallahassee. I think it's a great resource that the Florida League of Cities provides for all Florida citizens to take advantage of. We are getting close to the end. We have one final question. It's a question that I like to ask every year because it gives you the ability to be creative. And the question is this: if you could go back 20 years and put an item on your city's agenda that you knew would be adopted, what would that item be and why? And Mayor Apgar, we'll start it off with you.
Well, my answer would be the same as last year, and that would be policies related to sustainability. But rather than focus exclusively on that, I'll add a new answer, and that would be to have generally done better, put things in place that would have allowed better planning for infrastructure in the future, particularly in the area of roads and some other things. But that's not in anything specific. But obviously, with the backlogs we talked about, DeBerry has water issues. One other city has a different set of issues. I would have tried to address some of DeLand's by putting some things in place that might have facilitated it. But it still would have those are all big ticket items, and whether there'd ever been sufficient resources to do that, I really do doubt. So that's my answer for this year in infrastructure needs.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Raisler, 20-year time machine. What would you go back and pass if you could wave your wand?
Well, I go back to the same thing I said last year. I would definitely put the annexation of the property on Summit and 44, which is the Daytona College now. Would have been nice to have that been the Daytona College, the Lake Helen address. So for all the good reasons, not only because my son, at that time, would have been right down the street, but it's just I think now people see it, and a few people might be kicking themselves in the pants. So it's just it was a good choice, and I still see it as a good choice to annex that in.
Mayor Chazet, if you could go back 20 years, what would you pass?
20 years takes us back to before the worst of the hurricanes and the flooding in DeBerry, and I don't have to remind you, you saw it on TV, even if you didn't live in Florida sometimes. So water infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure would be key for our whole city. It is something that we still work with today, trying to backfill and handle the long list of issues that many of which trace back to the 1990s or even before. So if I could have done it 20 years ago, I would have put in much more adequate stormwater management, and that would be my answer.
Mayor Hertzberg, the keys to the time machine are yours.
Okay, so I could say the same thing as I did last time, which was water and sewer and road infrastructure, but I'm going to change it up a little bit this time. So I'm going to say that if I could have the time machine, I would have put an agenda on the city commission, on an item on their agenda that would create a city center or a downtown here in Deltona, so that we would actually have an identity and not be just that bedroom community of Orlando. I think, city center, downtown area, carve out something and then focus on that, because we're so big, it's hard to reel everyone in and have, that now and create it, 25 years after you're incorporated. So that's what I would have done.
Mayor Blair, you have the last word on the 20-year time machine.
Okay, it's something that should have been on everyone's agenda, and it would be something requiring all cities and the county to work together on sound water and sewer plans for all of our citizens.
Thank you very much. And mayors, thank you all so much for joining this event, the State of the Region for this year. It's been fantastic. I know several of you have CRA meetings to go to tonight and commission or council meetings. So we know your schedules are packed. You do so much for our respective communities. Like I said, I feel so lucky to live in a spot in West Volusia where I'm so close and so connected to every one of your cities. And it's been a great blessing for my family and I to live in West Volusia. It's been great to do this with you every year. So thank you and your colleagues on the dais and your staff for making this such a great place to live and for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
You.
Thank
For
you.
having us.
Thank you.